there's a point where you just have to say, I want something, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get what I say I want. And that is non-negotiable. If you decide, I really want this, it has to be a compulsion. So it's more than a desire. You have to be compelled to it. If you don't have a compulsion to attain, create, it will not happen, because the energy that you need is more than just, oh, I just want to do that, or I kind of want to do it. I desire that. It's compelled. And that is the key word people need to change, is I don't want this. I am compelled to get that. That's the first key, because words are important.
So before we get into this episode, I want to share something special with you. After organizing to scale so many businesses, the thing that I get asked about the most is, how can I scale with all of these tabs open in my brain? And so I created a free training on exactly how I organize to scale businesses in 90-day sprints. If you would like to get access, you can go to stacygray.com/scale. That's Stacy with an I, Gray with an A.com/scale. Welcome to another episode of The Rooted Founder. If you've ever felt like you're too old or too late, or feeling alone or broke or isolated, and you have a dream but you just feel like your time has passed, then this episode will speak directly to your heart. My guest today, let me share her incredible story. She's a business strategist, multi-seven-figure online business coach. And I think what's most interesting is she was 54 years old and a solo parent in debt, and then got into the online business space, and within 17 months hit 1 million. And I think her journey of what she had to discover about herself to push through some of those inner barriers that we all face to get to the success that she's achieved, I think is a story worth telling, a story with gleaning insights and lessons from, and ones that I think we can all relate to. So welcome. And I feel like I'm going to butcher your name again, so I'm going to let you use your magical voice and introduce yourself and your name so I can get it correctly.
Thanks, Stacey. It's Jeanne Omlor. And thank you for that lovely introduction.
Yes, I love your story. And I feel like maybe we can highlight where you're currently at, and then rewind the tape and discuss the hurdles that you had to overcome to get there.
Absolutely. Okay. So I've been coaching 13 years, but I'm 5 years and a bit into this online space, which is when I started seeing real success. And of course, let's just talk about how to define success. Of course, we're successes in different ways, but I'm talking about business success and monetary success. Okay, success. So we're at over 4 million now, 5 years in. I haven't really counted lately, but it's somewhere over 4. Okay. And so that's where we are now. And what are the hurdles? That's a great question. My thing that I've understood is the only thing really standing between us and what we really want. And, I'm successful, but what do I want next? What do we want next? So let's just put it this way. The only thing standing between you and what you desire to achieve, create, serve, bring in is your emotions. That is literally the only thing standing in any of our ways is emotion. And usually these emotions are fear, anxiety, doubt, etc. So what did I have to conquer? And, I'm a human being, so it's not like once you're bulletproof or anti-fragile, that it's forever. Because sometimes I love the whole discussion about being anti-fragile in the book Anti-Fragile by Nicholas Nassim Taleb. And there's other books on that. I feel like that's the way forward, is to stop babying ourselves. And I know that this is not a very popular subject right now at all, with all the talk about triggering and being aligned and all of that pop psychology that's happening right now. My point of view is that's weakening, but that's another whole thing. So let me get off thoughts for a second. So what I had to conquer was that. How do I just keep going? Don't feel sorry for myself. Don't see something not working as a failure, or if it is, that's totally fine. And just believe and keep going with the mission. The through line is eye on the prize. Keep going. Instead of, oh, that didn't work. Now I'm crumpling. Now I got self-doubt. It's to really manage those emotions, to just keep going. That is always the hurdle.
Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting, the debate that is happening. Like, feelings aren't facts, feelings get in the way, all of that narrative that is taking place. And then also feelings being an alert system to ways that we may be out of alignment or on the wrong track. And so for you, how do you overcome or navigate your emotions? Because I think there is a group of people that have tried the suppression route. I don't have emotions. I don't have feelings. I don't feel. And then you have the emergent work of Brene Brown and the gift of imperfection and vulnerability. And that gives voice to emotion and recognition of emotion and validity to emotion. And I think what I hear you saying is that emotion is the hurdle, but emotion isn't about elimination. It's about integration.
Exactly. Like, that's wonderful. The problem is people do suppress emotions. That's not a good idea. And yes, great to be vulnerable. And then what do you do with it? So it's about, yes, integration of emotions and not suppression, recognizing, but then not spending 3 years of your life processing something. Not the problem is it's gone a little far where human beings, like, let's face it, how many thoughts do we have a day? Is it millions, hundreds of thousands, something like that, right? So how can we process and give importance to every thought that crosses through our minds? It's not that, clearly not everything we're thinking is that important, right? But there is a movement that we have to process everything. So we just spend our whole life processing. How are you going to get anything done if you spend all day processing each situation and everything somebody says to you? You've got to let a lot of it go. A lot of it's subconscious, it's gone anyway. But a lot of the conscious, if it's not important, we have to decide, what do we actually do process or bother? So I don't process everything because it's not worth it. Somebody says something to me, I was like, okay, I just let it go. Do I need to process why that person said that to me? Well, if it's a person that's in my life and it's a really important situation, it's my daughter, or why we're still married, or then, yeah, sure, process that. But somebody random says something to you, no, you just let it go. But people are too busy processing everything. We're never going to get around to it, and it doesn't matter. Our thoughts, let's be real and not be so precious. Not everything that I think or you think is that monumental, is it? It's not really a great thought. It's not like, oh my gosh. But if something's happening where, okay, what's the direction of my business? I'm going to have to process that. What am I doing? Yes, certainly process it. But this thing of even going around and around and around in your brain, it's not noble. Okay. And there's this thing also that people think, if they think so much about stuff, it's a noble. No, it's not. You're stuck in a synapses. This is science. You're stuck and it's in a groove and you're going around and around and you think it's great. No, you're wasting your time in a rut. Okay. And the other thing, and I had a PhD on intuition on my show. And I said, it's funny. People are saying, I'm going to check in with my intuition. I said, but they're confusing fear for intuition. And she said, that's absolutely right. She goes, I wrote an ebook on that. She goes, you're spot on. I literally wrote an ebook on how to tell the difference between what your intuition and what is your fear, and you're mixing it together. So we got all these people convinced that they're checking into their intuition, but it's actually their fear body over and over saying, no, don't do this. Don't invest. Don't take a chance. Stay safe. So that's not helping them. And they're like, well, my intuition is telling me this. Are you sure? That's my question. Are you sure? We're not sure of anything, really.
Yes, this resonates. And I love that you had that lady on your show talking about intuition, because I do think that there is this desire for alignment, to feel like at peace with the decisions we're making. And I think that is a good desire, to feel at peace with the decisions you're making. Feeling at peace doesn't necessarily mean feeling safe. It doesn't mean feeling secure all the time. For me, and I'm curious how listening to your intuition has emerged for you. For me, listening to my intuition feels expansive.
Mm-hmm.
And then listening to fear feels contractive. I
Yes.
feel like I'm holding myself back.
Mm-hmm.
Part of my soul is dying, that I am in survivor mode,
Mm-hmm.
whereas the expansive feeling feels like I'm in growth mode, that I am curious, that I am using all of my faculties to move something forward versus fragmenting myself.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
How
well,
is that for you?
that sounds great. To me, if it's not scary and fun, then I'm not, we all make bad decisions. We just do. Because we would not be human if we did not make bad decisions. And there is no book that says every single decision in your life this is the right one. And even we will make a decision that is actually a good decision that goes wrong by some chance. Let's talk about investments. You can make a really good investment decision that's on track, and then something happens like COVID, okay? And all of a sudden, that good investment, it wasn't that your intuition was bad, it's something happened and turned the investment wrong. They weren't dishonest. That's a good example. That would then turn what was looking like a very good intuitive decision, because none of us can see unless we're actually psychic. Let's talk about average people, and everybody average is not average really, but we don't have crystal balls. So was that wrong? No, it actually was a good decision at the time. Okay. That something happened and then chance. And that's what an investment is. Nothing is certain. If it were, it would not be an investment. So when I'm investing, I'm scared, because sometimes I'm investing, and I don't just mean investing in myself. I do large investments in private equity and in real estate, large investments. Okay. And of course it's scary. Like, that might not work out. Like, I sent $300K to a bank account to buy a duplex. We're not sure that the numbers are going to work once we rehab that. They think, you don't know. Ended up that it was okay. It was more expensive, but it was still okay, right? But do you think that's not scaring me to death? I was like, oh my gosh, what if this doesn't work? However, I did enough research and I thought, well, I'm taking the risk. It could have gone wrong. We could have found a lot more wrong with that house than we already knew about. Okay. There were some few things that didn't really make it a bad investment. It's all turned out fine. You can't know. You just have to know that you are going to be stuck in safe mode, which is not safe. It's not comfortable. It is not your comfort zone. It's your familiar zone. And if you're familiar with not being successful, then that's what your default is. Why would you want to check in with a state that's not serving you? So that's where I thought, well, I'm not successful now before. And I thought, so that wasn't serving me, but I have made some good investments in myself. And I made some investments, and I made the best of them as far as coaching and service providing. Have I made a lot of mistakes, especially hiring service providers? Absolutely. I had a disastrous accountant that we're still recovering from now. Okay, but I needed an accountant. You have to trust at some point, and you don't know that person's going to behave badly. Sort of like if you marry somebody, you don't know beforehand whether that spouse is going to end up behaving badly. You cannot know. You take that risk anyway, right? And then 50% of us end up in divorce. But I'm not being negative. I was just joking, actually, or bitter about that. But you can't know. You can't say, oh my gosh, why did I marry this person? You can't know, and you cannot blame yourself. And I have 2 children. So how was that a bad decision? It didn't eventually work out. But how are we looking at that then? That it's a bad decision. I have 2 children. So it makes it all right in a way, but it just didn't work out. So it's complex. But I feel like we have to work on this every day, because fear, when you think you're never going to be fearful again, all of a sudden, out of the blue, I'm like, I'm fearful? Whoa, I have to process that. That I have to process. That's worth processing to get myself out of fear. And you asked a great question, and I'm going to answer that. How do I process it? There's many ways. There's many ways to do this. But I have worked out a very quick way to get myself and my clients from a state of icky feelings. Let's put it that way. You know, the icky feelings that's in your chest or your heart or your tummy or wherever you're feeling that in your body, because you do need to process that. And it's also in your body. So I have this thing that involves the body and breath, and I can get me and all of my clients from a 10 of intensity to a 0 in about 5 minutes. So yeah, that's important. We are processing quickly. And then the emotions are not disappeared, they are neutralized to a point where you can move forward. So that's the key, is to neutralize the emotions and let them flow through you, not to stop them. Or it's like stress. You don't stop stress. Well, I did this thing called network chiropractic for years. It's healing chiropractor. I did it for years. The goal was not to stop the stress. The goal was to get your body to have the stress move through you like a wave, to just move through you, not to stop it. And I think that's the key, is energy passing through you and not stopping it.
I love that you said it can go from a 10 to a 0 in 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And that is my experience with my coaching as well, is breath work has been fundamental in tapping into all of our faculties and taking our fear mode offline
Mm-hmm.
and letting it flow through so that we can be in the seat of what I call the sacred seat, but the seat in you that is neutral, that
Mm-hmm.
is the observer, that is looking at it objectively
Mm-hmm.
and detached in a sense from it.
Mm.
Therefore, we aren't as charged, so we can make a more productive and integrated decision with
Mm-hmm.
the information that is around us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times people think it takes years to become integrated.
Mm-hmm.
And you can actually do it quite quickly because it's not something that is happening in the conscious mind. It's happening in the subconscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know there are hurdles that we have to go through even to get to the acceptance of
Mm-hmm.
it can be done in 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you tell folks who are moving from, I don't believe that, to of the 5 minute mark?
Right.
And then the next layer from that is does it become a part of us
Mm-hmm.
in our daily lives?
Well, first of all, that's not all we do. So first of all, it is really important to adopt a morning mindset formula, ritual, routine, whatever you want to call it. So every day. So I didn't come up with that immediately. I did a lot of other stuff. And the first thing I did was first of all, a gratitude practice is just key too. But, and then, there's all these things that I'm coming up with, like happy no matter what. I literally realized we should just be happy. We can be happy. We can be happy no matter what is going on. It's harder when there's something really, really hard going on. But I think if we don't watch it, we get into a non-abundant, non-grateful mode. And the more we click into that, we literally change our state to, why wouldn't I be happy today? I'm healthy. Things are great. Oh, there's these little things that aren't perfect, and that's making me feel unhappy. That's not right. I also believe that we are in generally a very privileged society here in the US. Like when you really look at, most countries don't have clean water even. Like that gets you in really good gratitude mode, doesn't it? And there's a lot of opportunity, really. If you have the oomph and the desire and you go for it, you kind of can do anything you want in America. Like you can create if you want to. And it's not like I know a lot of people that are millionaires and they're not even that smart. They just decided they were going to, no, let's face it, it's just I'm going to do this, and they just did it. So first of all, it's really important to do a morning mindset formula, something that you do in the morning, something that is not yoga. Yoga isn't changing you to another state of mindset. Great. People go, I do yoga. That's not exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking about getting your belief system to a state that no matter what happens in that day, you are fortified before the day starts. Now, I start in the morning in my bed. I wake up. You have the wake up in the morning problems. I'll wake up and I'll go, okay, what's that icky feeling somewhere? And it's somewhere in the back sometimes. I'm like, and I will sit, that's what's niggling at me. And I will go and fish it out, bring it to the forefront and do that instant shift technique. So I get out of bed without all of that, because all of that starting your day, it's somewhere in there. So it's really getting really clear and to do detective work in the morning. How do I feel? Why am I feeling this icky? What is that? Oh, it's that back thought. And don't bury it. Don't bury it. Bring it. Okay. Bring it. Neutralize it. You get up feeling great. So first of all, morning mindset, that could be affirmations. That could be a tape. That could be writing down what you really want from your life. That could be a gratitude. That could be a lot of things. Okay. It could be the 15 minutes of, the psychocybernetics, imagining what's happening. That's a really good one, by the way. I've been doing that for years. Creative visualization. If you close your eyes and just do this tape of how you want your life, that is probably the best thing people could do. It does help your mind. Your mind's creating that because it can't tell the difference between reality and what you're thinking. That's a fact. So then your mind's welcoming this new situation as reality. So that's a really good one as well. And I've been doing that for years. So yeah, it wasn't like I just woke up one day and said, hey, I'm going to create the instant shift technique. But you have to work on it every day. And everybody, even Bob Proctor was saying he worked on his mindset every day, the mindset guru. So it's really being proactive with having healthy mental health, because it is mental health. So really taking care of your mental health, and even writing down 3 things you're grateful for every day. Journal about some great happy thing you did in the last 24 hours and relive it again. I have this other thing called pure positive thought. There's another P in there, the P's, but it's you're basically thinking of really positive thoughts, and then your brain is changing instead of thinking of negative thoughts. So all of this helps. These are just some ideas to raise your state every day.
These are things that I think that have been talked about a lot. You mentioned Bob Proctor, but a lot of people have grown up with Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, Marianne Williamson, all of these people speaking miracle morning and meditation and mindfulness and working out and eating right and community and environment and all of that. So sometimes it can be overwhelming for people. What do I do? Which do I apply? How do I go from I'm too young, I'm too old, I'm too broke, I'm too all of these things, that negative thought pattern, that negative belief system that's not serving them, to turn that off and turn on the positive belief system and activate it. So you have so many tools in your toolkit. If you were to choose one thing, what would that one thing be?
Okay, first of all, it's just a statement. It's just a statement of an agreement. I don't do. Now, I used to be very anxious. And I realize anxiety. So I literally have a Post-it over here saying, I don't do anxiety. I just don't do it. That's the simplest one. So figure out, what is your kingpin? Is it you're anxious? Is it you're fearful? Is it you're doubtful? And just state and put it everywhere. I just don't. It just shortcuts everything. I don't do anxiety. You start, no, but I don't do that. Don't do it. I just don't do it. Because going into that, you don't need to go into that over and over and over again. So figure out, what is it that's the kingpin. Mine was anxiety. I don't feel as anxious now since I started doing this. And I process the anxiety when I'm in my bed in the morning. But when I just stated I don't do anxiety, it just, something changed. And it's so simple. So if you're fearful all the time, just say, I don't do fear. I just don't do it. Oh, I'm thinking, nope, don't do it. Do you doubt yourself a lot? I don't do doubt anymore. I just don't do it. But just keep saying it. Put the Post-its everywhere. And you start to go into that. Nope. And that's NLP, actually. It's the stop of NLP. This does work. So that's a really simple thing that anybody can do. And it's just, I don't do it. Just make a new agreement with yourself of things that are harming you. It is harming you to let yourself be in these emotions all the time, and you have control. You do have control. That's one. And I think the other one of just creative visualization, of visualizing what you want. I think those are, if you just did those 2, that's also meditation in one, it's 2 in 1, that will change your life. Just those 2. Very simple. And then write down 3 gratitudes. Boom. That's a pretty good little plan there you got.
Yes.
Yeah.
I echo that 100%. A little meditation with visualization, the things you're grateful for. And really, when you talk about like, I don't do anxiety or I don't do fear,
Mm-hmm.
you're speaking to identity. This is
Mm-hmm.
who I am, and this is who I am not.
Mm-hmm.
And when we reinforce that through action,
Mm-hmm.
we're building trust with ourselves. And I think oftentimes we think we are not confident or we don't have self-worth. And really what we're doing is we are breaking promises to ourselves continually.
Mm-hmm.
And those micro uh, actions of mistrust
Mm-hmm.
erode at our self-worth and erode at our confidence. And therefore we get in these negative loop patterns.
Mm-hmm.
But we can immediately stop it and redirect
Mm-hmm.
by just a daily micro commitment that then reinforces our identity and focuses our attention on things that are positive and uplifting and edifying. And then before you know it, it's like, oh, I'm eating better. Oh, I'm hanging out with nicer people. Or, oh, I had this dream of writing a book. I wrote it. Like
Mm.
it starts clicking together and you start to like who you're becoming.
Right. Now, I agree with you. I'm just listening because everything you're saying, I'm just like, yes.
Hmm.
You said, how do people get past? And we didn't really address this, and I want to because it's important. Too old, too this, too that. Look, there's a point where you just have to say, I want something, and I'm going to do whatever it takes, apart from being illegal, immoral, or unethical. All right. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get what I say I want. And that is non-negotiable. And then don't start complaining and something doesn't work right away and you stop. If you decide, I really want this, and you know, there's all this thing about people shouldn't want because it's needy. You need to want stuff in life. You need to have a desire, but it has to be a compulsion. So it's more than a desire. You have to be compelled to it. If you don't have a compulsion to attain, create, it will not happen because the energy that you need to actually see something through that's big is more than just, oh, I just want to do that. Or I kind of want to do it. I desire that. It's compelled. And that is the key word people need to change is I don't want this. I am compelled to get that. That's the first key because words are important. So how do we get over it? We just say all of that doesn't matter. That just, what is age? It doesn't matter. I am who I am right now in this moment. And I was 54 and I thought, I'm going to fix this. I didn't go, oh my gosh, but I'm 54 and it would have worked if I was 50 or 35, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm here now and I'm going to figure this out no matter what. And that moment when 5 years ago or so, I woke up one morning and I thought, I got to fix this because I had 2 kids, single mom. And I thought this needs to be fixed because I don't want this life anymore of failing. And I don't want them to see me fail. And I got to fix this and I will fix this. And my main motivation was modeling for my daughters because I thought, wait, they're going to see somebody that's my age has a problem because I went through a divorce. And then we never pick ourselves up again. That they would subconsciously and consciously model that. So I thought, I'm going to have my kids be behind an 8 ball. No, the best way I can help them is to succeed when I'm the underdog. And I did. And I saw their mindsets change. My kids aren't anxious about their futures because somewhere they're like, well, our mom was failing and she turned it around. So can we. And I think that is the best mindset, not, oh, my mom always did well and she's still doing well. I realized that the message of that mindset was actually better, that I had failed. And then I picked myself up because that serves them better in their lives. And I've noticed they're just like, oh, yeah, if I don't do that, I'll just do something else. I'm like, that's right. That doesn't work. You figure something else out. And I don't see that with all teenagers or children. I see a more stuck mindset of the parents are both successful somewhat and there's a path and you're going to go here. And we're more like, oh, what do you want to do? Well, you could try that. Yeah, if it doesn't work, you can try something else. I've had several careers. Okay. It's a growth mindset. And it's also an adaptable mindset. Adaptation is the primary human intelligence. I don't know if you know that. That is the primary human intelligence. Our intelligence to adapt, we should be developing that more than what we are doing. It's been greatly, greatly neglected.
Mm. I think it's interesting that your whole story and everything, it's really about experiential learning. And I think that feeds right into adaptation as well. Because when we have this visceral knowing of like, oh, this worked or this didn't work, this felt aligned, this felt misaligned, I got the result I want, I didn't get the result I want. We have this visceral knowing, and that's experiential. And oftentimes we think, oh, I'll learn about mental toughness by reading a book. That's not how you get mental toughness. You get it by going and experimenting, falling down and getting back up. And yet we live in that stuck mindset where I just want to get it right and I don't want to fail and I don't want to be uncomfortable. Therefore, I don't want to take action to have the experience that is going to give me the learning or the lesson. And in my experience, a telltale sign that you're kind of stuck in that mental paradigm is if you are complaining or blaming.
Yes.
And when you're complaining and blaming, you're giving all of your power away. And so a quick pattern interrupt that we like to use is to ask the question when you're in a complain or blame is, what time is it? Now. Where are you? Here. And that's what you did when you woke up in your life and you're like, I'm a single mom, I'm broke. Where am I? I'm here. What time is it now? The only thing I can do is accept the brutal reality of where I'm at and then make expansive decisions from there that allow you to create new experiences, which gave you new learnings. It wasn't roses and daisies, I doubt. I bet you fell on your face a few times and had to get back up. And that was you developing that resilience and that grit and that self-trust and that confidence that you then also the second layer of this or third layer of this that I think is so amazing that I want to highlight is there was a who for you.
Yes.
Your daughters they mattered to you. And so you weren't doing it for just selfish gain and selfish ambition. It was like, I want to be a role model. I want to set an example. I want my girls to be able to fall down and get back up and be proud of who they are becoming along that journey. And I think our isolation crisis has been separating us from people, but who is really critical.
Oh gosh, you're making me cry here because that just brought everything back. And so true what you said about what time, because a voice in my head literally said, if not now, when? And I was thinking, let me just think about that. If not now, when? That's right. Now's the time. Because is it in a year that I take action? In 2 years? Okay, then I'll be 56. I need to take action right now. So I'm big on the if not now, when. Do things now. People put off a lot, and it's because they want to feel safe and everything's aligned. And I have a big problem with the word aligned now. Oh, because a lot of people think they're in alignment because it feels safe. All it is sugarcoating the fact that they have to feel so safe all the time that they are never going to truly expand their horizons and find their true potential because they are so scared of any kind of messiness. Creating stuff is messy. It's really messy. And if you're not willing to be scrappy and messy, then you're not going to be the huge success that you say you want to be. You'll be somebody that's fine and feeling like everything's all smooth and in alignment and everything is harmonious every day. That's not going to be very expansive success. It'll be settling for what you sugar-coated because you're saying it all has to be in alignment every second of the day. That's not life. And by the way, we are not harmonious every second of the day because life is this, some harmony and then there's disharmony and then you fix it and then that's life. And if we are pretending that life is just all smooth, I don't know what land you're living in, but life is not smooth. People die, bad stuff happens, or stuff that we don't like, but is actually just life, right? There are traumas, there are not traumas. But people that are always trying to experience this static, that is not a growth mindset. That is a scared, I'm going to pretend that I'm in alignment because I'm so scared of any messiness, feelings of like, I don't know exactly, and also the perfection of it. Perfectionism is self-abuse. I'll say that again. Perfectionism is self-abuse because we are never going to be perfect. No situation is ever going to be perfect. No house is going to be perfect. We try, but there's no perfect house because as soon as somebody puts a magazine in the wrong space, oh no, my perfect house is no longer clean. So this idea that it can be perfect, unless you have the thing that everything is perfect in its messiness. I get it. I love that philosophy. But let's talk about what normal people think. Okay. That's true. Everything is perfect in imperfection. Then I'm a perfectionist. I used to be a perfectionist. It was just keeping me back. And it was putting myself on a pedestal that I had to be perfect and everything has to be perfect. We are setting ourselves up for failure 100%. It will never be perfect. Nothing is perfect. And that's okay. Why can't we just make lemonade out of lemons? So my thing is, nothing's ever going to be perfect. So I accept the situation. I make the best of it. And that's a talent that I have, that I know it. I know when I hire somebody, I know it's not going to be perfect. I'm just hoping it's good enough that I can work with that. Does that make sense? Because my expectations are so low with service providers now that I'm just like grateful if they even do the job. Unfortunately, that's the state of affairs with service providers and people doing services. It's not just me. So I think that it's just about being real with yourself. Am I hiding behind all these? It has to be aligned 100%. It has to be in harmony. I have to have work-life balance every single day. That doesn't exist. There's harmonization of maybe some balance, but if you have to have work-life balance every second of the day and it has to be harmonious, that's going to be a hard life to live if you are doing a stretch, because there's some messiness, there's knuckling down, there's a little bit of overwork when you're hustling and then you don't. So, what do you want? You want neatness and not be super successful, or you want to just go for it? That's my question.
I echo what you say in terms of balance being an unachievable, like it's this homeostasis, like we want the teeter-totter to just stay straight all the time. And in a short horizon, like a 24-hour period, the likelihood of that happening with a multifaceted human being who's an entrepreneur, building a business, has a family, traveling, speaking, writing, but all these things that entrepreneurs do, the likelihood of you having a homeostasis 24-hour period is rare.
Right.
If you look at it over a long enough time horizon, say a 10-year period, you're going to have a lot of harmony and balance. You're going to have parts of it that were full throttle, get shit done mode, you were high execution. And then you're going to have other times in that period where you were deeply reflective, you were integrating, you were healing. There are other times in that period that you're going to be deeply social and bonded and in community. And you're going to have a very harmonious decade.
Right.
However,
I love the way you took it to a decade. I mean, it could even be over a month there was some balance. It could be over 3 months. I went to Dubai recently. Was that like in harmony? No, it was exciting. It was totally not in harmony. I was burning the candle at both ends. I was going to dinners, investment banks. I was doing some tourism. It was great. I wasn't sleeping very much. Thank goodness there wasn't like total balance, because that's what makes it exciting, is the adventure.
Yes. And I think the beauty of being a human is to allow yourself to have range. And I think in one of the ways that you were saying is like we keep ourselves small because we construct a perfection paradigm. But really, where's that perfection paradigm coming from? Like, how are you even creating it? It's from societal standards, from cultural norms? Like, where is perfection standard coming from?
It's coming from, I know where it's coming from. It's coming from your analysis of what you think other people are thinking of you and what you should do to make them think it's perfect. It's certainly an ego-based thing, because if you didn't care what other people thought of you, you would just, do whatever you want. It'd be like, I don't care what people think of me. I'm just going to do whatever I want. Certainly there's some norms of being polite, and, you look very lovely and you want to, we want to look nice for ourselves and we want to look presentable. Sure. We don't want to turn up to a professional podcast and look like, our hair is unkempt, because that's just socially not cool and lovely. So that's different. But the perfection, it's because we're so worried What are they going to think if they actually see that I am vulnerable and I actually am a mess? And, some people have criticized me for talking about my mess. And one woman wrote and said, "Oh, I see. You can become a multi-million-dollar coach by just exposing our personal mess online." I'm like, yeah, it wasn't even like I keep back personal stuff with certain things, but I was vulnerable about how hard that was. And I had no money and I got online and, I want to show people that this was not, oh my goodness, I woke up one morning and then I went and bought a sports car. And that's fake and it's weird. It's fake and weird. However, I do want to show people this is possible. This is possible. I was deep debt, broke single mom. 17 months later, I had made $1 million. And by the way, the profits were insane because there was no ads. So 92% profit. That's like some other person running ads making $4 million. Okay. Because I was doing everything and I was sustaining it because I was so excited that it was working. I was like, they're like, how are you doing this? I just feel like superwoman. And you get stuff done when you're excited about your life. And of course I got help because I don't believe in burnout. And I'm not saying we should burn out. I guess the question is, and again, I'll say this again. If you're listening, are you truly happy with the padding that you've put around your life? Because we pad things and sort of like, yeah, I'm doing fine. And sort of like this sort of half pretense of I'm really happy. Let's face it. If you really want to make $1 million, most people will not admit to that. In the back of my mind, when I woke up that morning, it was, if not now, when I got to get online. And then there was a micro thought in the back of my mind, somewhere back here. Weren't you supposed to be that $1 million coach, Jeanne? And I heard it. I thought, oh my gosh, there's that voice again. I thought, me now? Okay, let's not tell anybody about that. And I forgot it. But subconsciously, I desired that and it manifested by doing a lot of work. It didn't just manifest by, watching The Secret 10 times and having fairy dust and loads of cash fall all over my head. By the way, that's not success. That's winning a lottery. Winning a lottery is not actual success. You were lucky. Okay. So where are you? And I want people to ask themselves that are listening. Are you pretending that making $5,000 a month is all you ever wanted because you're in alignment and you don't have to stretch yourself? Or are you fooling yourself that you really do want to get to 20, 30, 40, I don't know, 100K months? And it's just that you're afraid because then you're going to have to get out of your familiar so-called safe zone because you're not serving your greater value and you're not helping as many people if you're only, making less. And that will eat at your soul over time. You're not doing a favor. And over time, you're going to be like, oh, I should have gone for it. What could I have done? Unless you're just completely burying those thoughts. Because being in alignment is not burying your true desires and sugarcoating them. I love that I can say that because it has to be said. It addresses that.
Mm-hmm. I like to think of success as inner congruence. So you talk about that little voice. And when we listen to the little voice and then integrate it and take aligned action, it's not just one or the other. Alignment is when your inner world matches your outer world. And when those don't match up, you have the padding, like you mentioned. So I think alignment without action is not really alignment. And inner peace without outer execution is really not congruent. So there's like the integration of both. And that's where the dreamer and the doer and us have to meet. And we all have to go on that integration journey. You can't just look at somebody and say that, oh, I want what they have, so I'm going to do what they did. Well, they also had to transform their inner world to get them to execute that thing in alignment. There's so much how-to information out there. You can Google anything. You can watch a YouTube video. You can get on ChatGPT. How to build an online business and in the world we live in now is not a secret. It's out there. It's documented. People are modeling it. The issue isn't that it's not how we do it. It's how do I get my human to do it?
How do you act? But the thing is, people are really, I love your alignment definition. That's not how people are using it. This is how people are using it. Something's too hard. It's not aligned. Get it? If it's challenging them as far as selling themselves, this is how I hear it all the time. They don't want to do the work to sell or market. Therefore, it's too hard and making them feel too challenged and triggered because they don't want to do it. So they say it's not aligned. All they mean really is that is too hard and it's going to take me so out of my comfort zone. I do not want to go there. Therefore, it's not aligned. That's not alignment. That is fear. And this is how it's being used. And that's why I don't use the word alignment anymore, because that's how people I'm hearing. I'm like, well, that's not the definition of aligned, because it is being congruent. It's incongruent to wish for something, but not want to do what it takes to get it. That's not in alignment and not congruent, and it won't work. The shortcuts, I love shortcutting people because you can do so. I love it, but there's no universal shortcuts of not doing the work and everything's going to work like magic. Everybody wants that. They want to not market, not turn up, but somehow have clients appear, high ticket clients at that. Okay. So that's not aligned. That's just really not being realistic about, what is going on here. Is it because, it's just not aligned? Oh, because you actually have to sell. Well, you're going to have to market and sell if you want to have a business. It is non-negotiable. But they're trying to make it a negotiable and kind of have a hissy fit with the universe because things are not the way they want them. They just want to wish that we don't have to do all this, and they appear. That's not being an adult. It's being unreasonable.
Yeah.
Right?
You know how you had the saying or the post-it, I don't do anxiety?
Right.
One of the ones that I've had with myself is I don't negotiate with myself.
Okay, good.
So along the lines of what you're saying is that once you decide you want to do something, I'm not negotiating anymore. We're doing it.
Let's do it.
Don't overthink it. Don't overanalyze it. Just do it.
Figure it out. I mean, you have to have some planning sometimes if it's like creating a new business, but that is real planning. It's not like often I have the thing of doing things too soon. So I have to tell myself, let's do a little bit of planning. Okay. Yeah. But I'm all in on no ducks in a row. I'm like, get 2 ducks in a row and shoot one. That's my saying. People laugh when I say that because getting all your ducks in a row, when people say I have to get all my ducks in a row, I'm like, oh no, that's a perfectionist saying that. They think that's a good thing. It is not. It is fear hiding behind, oh, I just have to plan this all. How much more are you going to plan it over and over and over? Just get the first few steps and just go for it. Because, taking that first step and getting your foot in the door, I call it, your foot's in that door, you're good. You took the action, the foot's in the door, then you just pry that door open. That's how I create success.
So what are some things that you're working on right now? I mean, what is on the horizon for you?
Well, I not only do I work with coaches and consultants to help them get more high ticket clients online authentically and organically, but I also have a very high end offer for CEOs. That's why I was in Dubai. And so I'm more mindfully speaking about that. And it's been fantastic. As soon as you speak about something, all this, I have referrals. So I want to build, because my goal is to help a lot of people to thrive. That's my mission, my purpose. I'm helping the mid-level of coaches and consultants and some service providers. I want to go more for very high-level people, because when high-level people that have power, perform well, have purpose, they treat people better. And then the impact trickles down. But then there's I don't mean lower end people, I mean lower end of payment, but people that can't afford or aren't coaches. I'm trying to come up with ways of how do I help human beings to thrive? Because, with AI, people will lose their jobs. They say they won't, but they will. And it's how do I help? And I don't know how that's going to present itself. I'm trying to come up with some maybe very low priced platform where people can learn anything, or I don't know. So those are the 2 I'm focusing on. I got the mid one sort of sorted, but I do. And I pay a very hefty commission when people do introduce me because it saves me so much time. So I'm working on more of the influence of higher end people and also helping them to wake up with purpose and fulfillment, because there's one thing making money, but it doesn't mean you're going to be happy, because a lot of people are a little lost. So that's kind of what I'm dealing with and working with now.
I love the phase you're in, because you're in creator mode.
Exactly.
And getting into that, envisioning a new future, a brighter future, an expanded future that is stepping out of what is comfortable to you, because you've reached a new ladder in your career and now you get to explore more. And I echo, and I think we share a heart in this way to really help high achievers heal, because when they heal and they integrate, then their influence for all of the people that they employ, all of their strategic partners, all of their customers and clients, it has a greater ripple effect. And overcoming that and creating that for those folks is going to be beautiful. So I am cheering for you on that journey.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
If folks want to connect with you, where can they find you?
Well, they can find me at jeanneomlor.com, JeanneOmlor.com. There's a bunch of testimonials there. And if they want to speak with me, there's a place to find an appointment. Also, my name all over social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Jeanne Omlor.
Yes, and we'll put all of that in the show notes. And thank you so much for being on The Rooted Founder. It was a pleasure getting to hear your heart and your journey and how you have become inner congruent. I won't use the word aligned, but how you have overcome some of the fear and perfectionism that was blocking you to be of service the way you have. And I hope that your story inspires other people to do the same, because the world needs more people who are not living in fear and living in a more expansive state. So thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. It was a pleasure. And you had some really great questions.
Yes, thank you. And to everyone listening, I hope this inspires your heart to really step out of fear, whatever narrative you have playing in your head that says you're too young or you're too old or you're not good enough or you're not perfect enough or pretty enough or strong enough or wealthy enough, that you can just say, where are you here? What time is it now? And deal in reality and move forward for something that really creates inner congruence and success for you. So cheers, y'all.